If there's one guy with no spirit sense, it's definitely this guy. He's finally moving to his new house, but he appears to be deep in thought. This house he is leaving is supposed to be a haunted house, but since he's been living in it, he's yet to stumble upon any spirit or ghost. However, this isn't because the house is not haunted. The house is definitely haunted, and as the guy sits on the duffel bag, several spirits lurk above him as if trying to taunt him. But the boy just can't see or even sense any eerie feeling. He came to Tokyo to fulfill his lifelong dream, but since he came with no money, he was fortunate to stumble across this house. Being a haunted house, the rent was 0 yen, but this wasn't even doing the boy any good. He didn't mind the house being possessed since he came with the will to die if need be, but not seeing any spirits was very frustrating as he was hoping to get attention from it. He stands up in frustration and shouts at the spirits to show themselves. Though the boy can't hear it, a female spirit shouts back at him to open his eyes as well. The girl spirit is very angry that the guy is so dense when it comes to sensing the supernatural. Being the strongest earthbound spirit, Kanako's quite pissed that the guy has been ignoring her for the 3 years he has lived in the house. As she throws a tantrum, Jen, a miscarried spirit, also comments that this is the very first time he's seen something like this in the 80 years he has existed. It's one thing not to see spirits, but it's another thing not to sense that the air in the house feels strange. Even when the spirits sit on his head, the clueless boy feels absolutely nothing. The wandering spirit Obo tries to offer some advice, but his voice seems to have wandered off. This pisses the human soul, Dama, and he suggests they use a new strategy. Therefore, Kanako decides to go all out and show the boy the stuff she's made of. She leaps up close to the ceiling and unleashes her anger on him as she is determined to make him notice her before he permanently moves out of the house. The house begins to shake, but instead of the boy finally connecting the dots, he assumes that an earthquake is happening and blames Tokyo for having too many earthquakes. Attempt 1 fails, and Kanako is almost in tears as she can't believe that boy is this dense. Kanako stops the shaking and the boy recovers. However, now that everything's back to normal, he mutters that the earthquake wasn't even that scary. This sends Kanako into a mad rage as a spirit of her caliber is being ridiculed in this manner. The other spirit suggests that she does something very bold, like leaving mysterious writing on the floor. There's no way he could possibly ignore that. Or so they thought. Kanako feels that it is too much of a hassle, but she angrily agrees to do so because her status as the most powerful spirit is being questioned. She writes some words on the wall in blood, but the clueless boy can't even see the writing. He remains focused on his phone. So Kanako tries to scream in his ears once more, and the boy finally removes his ear pods only to mutter that the Bluetooth connection is poor. Another attempt in the trash. The girl doesn't give up too soon, though. She hijacks the screen of his phone by sneaking in to catch his attention, but the boy still can't see her. This makes Kanako very angry, as it seems like it is impossible to even make this boy scared. As the spirits are talking about how it is impossible to scare him, the boy begins to screech in fear. The clueless boy is finally scared, but it's just a cockroach. As the boy screams about how scary cockroaches are, Kanako shouts at him not to be scared by something as tiny as a cockroach. Though the cockroach is gone, the boy begins to think hard about whether anything has happened since he's been staying at the house. As he ponders over any strange event, the ghosts listen in on his thoughts by reading his mind. The boy recalls that there were times there was leftover water on the floor and just assumed there were leaks somewhere. But the reality was that Obo, the wandering spirit, tampered with his leftover bathwater since he was formed from being drowned. There were also times when babies cried when they passed by the house. That was Jen, the spirit of the miscarried baby, saying hello to the kids. There was also the time when a crazy person was screaming outside his house very late at night, and the boy assumed that these were incidents that occurred freely in the city, when in reality, it was Dama, the human soul, that possessed the person. As the boy recalls, Dama taunts Kanako. The boy also remembers that there were times items have fallen off his shelves, but he just assumed that those accidents were normal. Gonim, a stick-looking spirit, was responsible for this. Since all the other spirits have managed to catch the boy's attention at one point or the other, Kanako wishes he'd mentioned something she did at some point. But the boy concludes that no other thing was strange, driving Kanako mad for being ignored. The guy later concludes that these strange incidents do not prove anything, but this does nothing to cheer up the depressed ghost. She hurdles up in one corner and just talks absent-mindedly. She falls to the floor and laments that the guy will never know she existed, as he'll finally be moving out tomorrow. Though she failed to properly scare him, she has no idea why she feels so depressed about it. Right in time, the boy turns off the light switch and walks with determination to the candles. Jen sees what is happening and comments to the girl that the guy is trying to summon her. The clueless boy sits with the candles. In front of the candles are yes and no notes. It seems like he is finally ready to communicate with the ghost. Taking a deep breath, he yells out to the ghost that if it is truly in the house, it should turn off the yes candle. His bellows catch the ghost by surprise, but all the guy can think about is how much funny conversation he's going to be able to make with this scenario. Even though he might not be able to use it in conversation, the guy still wishes he had met the ghost at least once before he left. Before he gets too disappointed, the girl turns off the yes candle, signaling her presence. Victory is close. Outside the house are two strange individuals. The lady thinks to herself that the presence in the house has grown weaker compared to what it was about 4 years ago. As she advances towards the house, the old man reassures her that there are other members on standby. This lady is Itsuki, and as she walks in, she mutters that the spirit's insatiable hatred will no longer be tolerated. Meanwhile, inside the house, the guy turns on the candle again and asks the ghost if it is a dog or a person. The girl turned off the candle, signaling that she is not a dog person. This shocks the guy, but he looks more confused as he is finding it hard to process everything that is happening. In the background, the remaining spirits are very happy that their Kanako has finally caught the attention of the guy after 3 long years. With his confusion at 60%, his excitement at 20%, and fear at 20%, the boy wonders what he should ask next. As he ponders, Kanako smiles in excitement as her time to scare the wits out of the boy has finally come. However, the dense boy shocks all of them by asking if she is a man. This question catches Kanako by surprise. She looks at the other ghosts as if asking what she should say, but they assure that she doesn't have to consider them as they are fine with whatever she wants. So Kanako turns off the no candle. This shocks the boy that the ghost is actually female, but he soon gets over it and begins to imagine a sexy female ghost. This instantly lowers his confusion to 30%, raises his excitement to 60%, and causes his fear to plunge to 10%. As Itsuki walks up the stairs to the house, Jen notices her presence and realizes that they might have a problem. He mutters to himself that they'll always be regarded as evil spirits, and neither God nor Buddha exists for them. On the other hand, Kanako is ready to scare the wits out of the boy. However, the boy does the startling by accusing her of never showing up before him for the past 3 years. This sends Kanako into shock mode. She screams back at him that she has always been present for the past 3 years. It's not her fault that the boy is spiritually dense. The silly boy gets wrapped up in his own fantasy and asks if she fell in love with him then. The girl swiftly replies no by blowing out the candle so fast. This alarms the boy, and he asks if she hates him then, and the girl agrees so fast. The girl doesn't get the reaction she expected, though. Instead of getting offended, the boy begins to laugh so hard. He shakes his head and mutters that she is not a bad ghost. Her weirdly super fast responses and her answers so far prove this, and the boy just can't stop laughing. This shocks Kanako, and she says she won't forgive him, but her smile betrays her words. As she chuckles with the boy, a stiff strand of her loses its strength and falls to the floor. The boy doesn't realize that she has been laughing with him, but he eagerly calls out to her, asking to know more about her. This confession messes with Kanako's head, and she begins to feel very strange. Although she doesn't know how to interpret this feeling, the dense boy ruins things for her with his lewd thoughts. He's eager to ask her if her jugs are big, but figures it might sound rude. Kanako, listening to his thoughts, gets offended by them, and she calls him rude. The strange lady is still outside, and she has finally gotten very close to the door. As she advances closer, she thinks about the spirit she's there to confront. The spirit was Hinako Shirakami, who died at the age of 12. Though she was born to an exorcist family, she was not just a child prodigy, but she was one with extraordinary powers. People weren't just amazed by her powers, but were scared of them. Her powers were so overwhelming that they not only affected the spirits, but the souls of living things nearby. People got hurt just by being near her. This was why she had to be homeschooled and was separated from the rest of her family. Despite this, she still wielded her powers for the sake of her family up until the day tragedy struck. When she was dispelling evil spirits once, her mother got caught in the crossfire and died because of her daughter's powers. This shattered Hinako's heart. So she cursed herself and took her own life in the same room. And on that day, Hinako was born, and she never left that room. Even as a spirit, she continued to hate herself for doing that to her mother. Finally reaching the door, Itsuki mutters that she'll end Hinako's hatred today. However, things don't go as planned. Jen and the other spirits stop her mid-step and declare that she can't go any further because their girl is having a nice time with a boy. Itsuki asks who they are to refer to Hinako so fondly. In reply, Jen proudly tells her that they are Hinako's family.